Lot of immigration questions swirling around, whether it's the judges that were helping the alleged reported whatever illegal immigrants, or the situation where the minor American citizens are going home with their deported parents. Susham Modi's back on to make a little bit more sense of that. Welcome back, Susham.
Thank you for having me. Honored to be back.
Okay, so any updates on the judges? I think we had talked about this last week. I know we did on the show, but I think we talked about it with you specifically last week. Do we know the charges and a little bit more about the situation that these judges are in that are accused of harboring illegal immigrants?
Yeah, it's not harboring. The charges are going to be obstruction of justice is going to be the main criminal complaint that was against the Milwaukee judge, Dugan.
All right. Is that a serious charge? Is that like a felony or a misdemeanor? What is she facing here?
Yeah, I mean, it can be a serious charge. You know, I don't practice criminal law, I practice immigration law, but it can be a serious charge. Now, there was, a similar incident in 2018 against another judge, I believe in Massachusetts as well. But that one, in terms of the criminal case, hadn't gone anywhere. And the reason why is it's difficult to convict somebody on an obstruction of justice charge because one of those elements is criminal intent. So it's very hard to determine like criminal intent in a case like that. And so that could be one issue of several that we can discuss.
Okay, yeah. And what about the guy who had the illegal living in his guest house? What's that one called? Because I think you had made a similar case last week that you have to sort of improve intent, that he knew it was an illegal and he was harboring someone who wasn't supposed to be here.
Yeah, I think that one dealt more with tampering of evidence. I believe a phone was destroyed that was in that home. Yeah, and so that's a bit of a different matter. And it dealt with a judge, but it wasn't a judge who was active at like the courthouse at that time, for example.
Okay, so let's move on to the case that came to the media attention on Friday with the kids that had been sent out of the country with their mom who was deported, and they were legal citizens. So walk us through. We know nothing about the details of this process, Susham. What happens if there is an illegal parent with a citizen minor child and the illegal parent gets ordered deported?
Yeah, I mean, first, in terms of U.S. citizens cannot be deported, right? I mean, there's only in very limited circumstances like denaturalization proceedings, for example, if they, found to try to overthrow the U.S. government or something, very rare, extreme circumstances, and they would be able to go to federal court. So the U.S. citizen children, even as children, they cannot be like lawfully deported. In this case, the Department of Justice is alleging they did not deport the U.S. citizen children, but that the mother had agreed to take the children with her. So, there is I think it's going to be clarified over time. It's not completely clear because the records haven't been released of exactly what happened. But those are the two sides of the argument there.
Yeah, so Tom Homan said on Face the Nation that there's some form you fill out that the parent has to fill out, and they make the decision on what happens with the kid, if it stays in America or jumps on the plane with them. Do you know much about that form? Does it have like a number or something?
Yeah, I mean, there is a form, but again, we just don't know what happened in this particular circumstance. The department is alleging one thing, and nonprofit organizations are alleging lack of any like due process, for example, which is important. I mean, we're dealing with U.S. citizens here, and so it's important that all the right boxes are checked here. I'd like to, if you don't mind, go back. I hadn't mentioned something that is important.
Sure, we got like 2.5 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. On the Judge Dugan issue, which is, one of the biggest misconceptions for immigration is that these individuals are criminals. Like, you see a lot of media and political posts of them being criminal, illegal aliens. That's not true. So most of immigration law is actually civil law. It's not criminal law. Think civil law like torts, like when you sue somebody. And so when somebody gets put in deportation proceedings, for example, that is a civil matter. It's not a criminal matter. And the reason that's important is like, for example, like they don't usually get a right to even a counsel, like a Sixth Amendment right to free counsel, like you do in criminal court. And that's really, really important here because one of the issues that arise with Judge Dugan, she was a state court judge, like doing criminal proceedings. And so whenever ICE, which is Immigration and Customs Enforcement, if they try to arrest someone who's undocumented is really the right term instead of illegal, because people can't be legal and neither is it criminal law. But if they tried to arrest someone there, one of the common things that they have, and I think they had here, was an administrative warrant, not a judicial warrant. So a judicial warrant is signed by like a different judge, and you can go into at times private spaces. An administrative warrant is only allowed in public places. And again, this is a civil matter, not a criminal matter. And so that's going to be another issue at play here, because what had happened, at least the criminal complaint states or alleges, is that ICE officers came to this state criminal court and tried to remove this individual, but his hearing hadn't been done yet, his criminal hearing. And so there's an issue of, was it trying to interfere with the criminal hearing against this individual? And then also an issue of public versus private places. So, like outside the courtroom in the hallway could be a public place, but inside the courtroom is like a semi-public and a right to have that court proceeding, the criminal state court proceeding, not be interfered with. So that's what I wanted to kind of just clarify and talk to you about as another issue that can come around, and also a clarification of what immigration court proceedings are in terms of being civil in nature and administrative ones.
No, Susham, that was great. That's the kind of breakdown we hope to get from you. This is Susham Modi, immigration expert. Where do we find you online, Susham?
Yeah, it's just the Modi Law Firm, MODI lawfirm.com. And again, thanks for having me here, and hope this was helpful to you.
Oh, it definitely was. We really appreciate it. Thank you, sir. That was good stuff.
All right.
See,
have a good day.
It's nice to have someone with a little expertise instead of just some hick who crawled out of the woods in East Texas yammering his mouth.